Good morning everyone. Today I am going to take the topic on rendering engine and pipeline from the unit game engine. So before going into the topic, let's have a recap. The recap says that how the animation challenge is accepted and what makes a game visually stunning. So in what way the games are being visually stunning and how the challenges takes place in animation is also done in the form of animation. So now let's have an overview of rendering engine and pipelines. So when it comes to rendering engine, we have to check it out. We have to explain the concepts and we have to explain the purpose of a rendering engine in a game design, and also by describing the rendering pipeline stages from the creation to the final frame, and how to identify the optimization techniques by using a real-time rendering, and also which we relate the rendering concepts from the real-world gaming applications. So these are the overview we are going to see in the rendering pipeline and the rendering engine. So when it comes to a rendering engine, what is a rendering engine? So we all know what is a rendering engine. Okay, so it is a software framework that converts the 2D scenes to the 2D images. So whatever the 2D, 3D scenes are there, whatever we are creating is converted into a 2D images. Those images can be created in the form of a rendering engine. So when it comes by handling the lighting, so in the form of handling the lighting and the texture and also the shading part, it forms the shading, and the camera view is more important for creating an image from the 3D to the 2D view. And these can be done in few engines like Unity, Unreal Engine, Godot, engine. So these are few game engines which is used for rendering the images, that is the 3D scenes to the 2D image. So let's go for the core components. When it comes to the core components, it has a scene graph, it has a renderer, and it has a GPU interaction and a post-processing method. So these are the main core components that comes in the form of a rendering engine or rendering pipeline. So when in the form of rendering engine, the scene graph is more important because it manages the 3D objects and the hierarchy. How the 3D objects takes place, what are the hierarchies takes place. See, in this image we have the hierarchies and what are the rendering engines that we follow, and how the scene has been graphed, this 3D image graphed, and the hierarchy takes place. When it forms in the render, okay, it processes the materials, lighting and shaders. See, there is a lighting we have kept in the middle and the shaders. So all these things comes under the form of a render. And GPU interaction, it converts the instructions to pixel data. So in this image, how many pixels are there, how it takes place, how many data can be saved, all those things can be formed in the form of interaction. When it is in the form of post processing, so the add effects, the bloom, the motion blur, so how the, see here the blurriness, how much effects and lights and textures and rendering should be given, all those things comes under the form of rendering engine as the core components. Next, we can take this rendering engine and pipeline in the form of a design thinking approach, how the empathy takes place and how it is defined, where we are going to ideate, and what is the prototype formed in the form of the rendering engine and pipeline has been mentioned. So how the empathizing in the form of understanding the players, and what are the core challenges that we are going to define, and how those core challenges will be ideate and followed by those techniques used, and finally the prototype is more important by showing all those vertex processing fragments, all those things can be done. So let's do with the form of an activity. So this is what the activity is. So kindly go through the activity task and you can let me know in the comments. So when it form in the form of technical deep dive, so how deeply we are going into the technical form is by rendering the pipeline flow and by optimizing, and also we are going to check the real time as well as the offline rendering, and also in the form of animation systems is also more important. This is the mind map, how the rendering pipeline and the rendering engine takes place. Finally, this is the case study. So in the form of a rendering engine, the case study is in the God of War. You all know it's a very famous game, and how the dynamic lighting and the reflection systems takes place in this real-time game. And we have to form a flow chart and our own game concept, same like a God of War, and how this rendering techniques takes place in your own game. So this is the case study you have to find out. So hope you all understood what is a rendering engine and a pipeline. Thank you.